Well, here we are back in Turkey, and we're in the area of Cappadocia. This is our first morning. This is going to be exciting, the things we're going to see today,
Look
right,
at what a
Betty?
great day we have, too. Hi, Catherine. And there's Monsignor Balker, one of my very favorite people that travels with me a lot, or with us a lot.
And if you look in the background, you can see already some of those over there on the right-hand side. We just took a look real quickly. Some of those homes that are built back there in the hillside. Anyway, this is a beautiful hotel where we're staying, and the swimming pool was empty because it was getting toward winter time, and I don't think anybody was ready to go swimming.
I don't think they would have either, Marv, but you could see the possibilities.
Yeah, and I think, though, in the summertime, though, this area gets pretty warm, so I think you'd want that swimming pool. Anyway, this is sort of a little panoramic shot early in the morning. And, of course, we always like to get up and get an early start. It seems like everybody, boy, they want to get down to breakfast real fast, right?
Well, you know what happens? We set a later time usually to get going, and my people say, "We want to go, Betty. Let's go. Like, we have an early wake-up so we can get going and see what we can see." It's wonderful.
Oh, it sure is, yeah. Well, you know, when you're in another country, you want to experience as much as you can, and get the early start.
Sleep when you get home.
Yeah, that's for sure. Anyway, it was a little chilly this morning. But, speaking about breakfast, look what we have here.
Now, this is breakfast.
Mm-hmm. And we'd had dinner there the night before, and that was even loaded with more goodies, of course. Oh.
And it's so tastefully done, the arrangement of the food itself and the variety. And this is all included in the price of the trip.
That's right.
Your meal's included, so it's a great bargain.
It certainly is. And, this is a trip that we want to do again because Turkey was just very exciting. And even though we saw an awful lot, I think that we just, saw a portion of it because Turkey is a rather large country.
Well, we do what we can do.
That's right. Well, looks like you were all getting ready for breakfast, huh?
Making sure that everybody was there and we would leave on time.
Right. And Mary seems to be enjoying her breakfast this morning, too. I'll tell you, the one thing that I was really impressed with, food-wise in Turkey, was the breads. Weren't the breads good?
Well, I like bread. I eat a lot of bread. It's my sustenance. Yeah, I do like bread.
It was
and we would buy bread even in the stores and chomp away on it on the bus.
Well, that's one thing I didn't realize, that Turkey had such great bakeries there. Oh, the bread was wonderful. Anyway,
there's Carol and
you see
George,
Carol's got a little bit.
Well, very good, Mark. I have a great variety of good food. I enjoy it. It's wonderful. Yeah, today is going to be a good day.
It's going to be perfect.
There will be a lot of sightseeing, and I was looking all around. It's beautiful, and we are going to be blessed with a nice and clear weather.
Well, Roland was absolutely right, because that day we were blessed with very good weather. In fact, almost on the whole trip. So.
Well, I had a jacket on, but then I'm cold a lot, so I'm more apt to wear a jacket.
Maybe you ought to have something a little stronger than coffee in the morning to drink.
Oh my gosh, no! Thank you very much. I do well enough in the evening. That's fine.
There we are. We're going to see what you're going to eat for breakfast this morning.
I don't eat a whole bunch.
Did you have cereal with yogurt on it?
I don't put the yogurt on it. I do mostly have cereal, though, and maybe some bread and a fruit.
Speaking about bread, look at here. Oh, there's a whole area there with bread. Some of it filled with goodies.
But see, that's the trouble. Decisions. Do I want this or do I want that? And invariably you end up with a plate that you don't eat all of it because it looks so good, and such a waste.
Well,
such a shame.
Let's listen to our guide, Mama.
Okay.
Early Roman times, the early Christians being massacred and tortured and trying to run away to seek shelter here and there. And also the subsequent centuries, basically Byzantine Empire, after the division of the Roman Empire into two, as a result of which the Eastern Roman Empire is called the Byzantine Empire. And this way, with Constantine the Great moving to the throne and gradually Christianity becoming the official religion of this vast empire. And then the Christians not hiding, not running away from the tortures of the Roman soldiers, but beginning to live peacefully, comfortably, without the danger of getting killed or tortured, or without the danger of any enemy, any form of people coming to attack on them, because the Byzantine Empire is a vast one, strong enough to protect the people and to defend the lands within the empire. So this way, during this peaceful period especially, the Christians have started carving the rock, this soft rock, making their dwellings, their churches, and also beginning to paint inside these churches. So this way it is a very good approach for these people to have an idea into their daily life, how they lived, what they produced, and what is left behind. Now look to your left, please. You can see quite a lot of rock dwellings on this side. Until recently, these were all used by the local people. You see the new houses over here, 1 or 2 or 3-storied houses. Now Cappadocia, the way you see it now with this vast piece of land, is like a natural park, landscape, so to speak, under preservation by law. So whatever is up there, especially they are in danger of collapsing because of the soft nature of this lava and the volcanic ash. So people no longer live in them, and what is left over there is to be preserved, or try to preserve it for future generations, and the people moving down to the flatland and building up their new homes and abandoning these places. Yep.
But it is interesting, Betty, to see that they're still using these areas for storing, grain and other crops that they have, because it keeps it cool in the summertime and it keeps it warm in the wintertime. Now, the area that we're going through right now is sort of the precursor to the Turkey's Grand Canyon, what we'll take a look at a little bit later on. But the erosion and how this comes about to get these funny features, we're going to find out right now.
Because the wind gets strong, if you are down in the valley on one of these occasions, as the wind moves through the valleys like that, you sometimes hear this sound, woo woo, going through the valleys like that, which causes erosion. Rain and snow, first of course turning into ice, later on melting, and from the top of the hills and the mountains flowing down to the valleys, it causes erosion of this volcanic ash. If there is any lava, any hard part, any hard piece in this rock, as it gets eroded, the ash gets eroded, this harder piece won't get eroded, it will come up to the surface. But as the erosion continues, this part which is not eroded, the lava, stays at the top, forming a head, so to speak, and the lower part of this head, the neck and the body of the rock cone, so to speak, like you can see on your right hand side, okay, it continues to get eroded until such time that the neck becomes very thin and narrow. Just a moment, we will have some free time. So, until such time that the neck gets thinner and thinner, and the head, the cone at the top, is heavier, so there is no balance, and it tumbles down, rolls down into the valley.
Well, I don't think I would want to be in the valley when one of these things decides to tumble down.
Oh, I don't think so either, but I don't think it would just happen overnight, Marv. So I don't think you'd have to worry about it.
Yeah, you're going to take many, many years for the erosion to hit, all of this stuff. But
it's
is
unreal.
It is,
unreal.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here's the places we love.
Better take $1 with you so that you can buy the postcards. You know, it's interesting, Betty, you always advise people to carry $1 bills with them so that you can, no matter what country we go in, it seems like everybody will take at least a $1 bill.
Well, when you have a
to bargain with.
Yeah, when you have $1, you see, and you say how much it is, you know exactly what you're paying. You don't have to get your little chart out and say, well, now
Right.
this dollar's worth such and such,
That's right. In fact, let's see what Helga's going to buy.
I like this. Well, Marv, here I am going at it. Okay, I'll take this one.
I have to say, I pulled out my dollars too because I bought one of these for a neighbor of mine who collects dolls.
I
These
think
are nice,
I think everybody bought one of those. They were inexpensive and wonderful souvenirs to bring home.
And I like shopping at places like this where these are
They
real
made 'em.
handicrafts, right?
Sure,
And you know that,
sure.
yeah. So that was a
And
nice
it
little
helps
stop.
them a lot.
Oh, sure. Well, I see Carol's going to buy something because George has got his money out
Yeah,
there.
well, Carol buys everything.
She
she and Helga.
These gals really have good collections,
Yeah,
I'll tell you. So they'll have good memories for a long, long time, you know. It's interesting to me to see how the women here are dressed. I don't know what the what it's
There's
called.
clothes. Those are
well,
clothes.
yeah, no, I know, but the toward the ankle, you can see that it's kind of closed, and then they're kind of
They
big,
look like
bulky.
like harem pants almost, the way they come
Is that what we
in
call them?
bulk.
Harem pants?
Well, I don't know. We can sure.
Been
let's
in
call-
any harems lately?
Let's call them harem pants. I have a pair actually at home.
I bet you'd look real good in
Oh,
them.
I do. I do.
Now, some of the names we use are nothing but pure translations from the Turkish word as the local people use them. So it's just a name and we translate it for a better understanding. If I say Uchisar, you don't know what it means, of course. But the other way around, sometimes certain names have meanings, especially when you're talking about the churches and all that, as there are too many of them. To identify one from the other, they have deliberately fixed certain names, either a large, fine piece of fresco inside the church, which gives the name to the church, or something outside or around the church, which defines the name for that church. So in any case, whatever they use, the local people use, we will give it to you. It's very interesting, very nice, and then looking back on your right, it looks like a small example of Grand Canyon, the Turkish Grand Canyon, if you want to call it that way, way back there. You're going to see this, don't worry, in this area, to stop here and there. The local people. Look at the Grand Canyon now. And this is high up. And to the left and behind that Grand Canyon is Avanos, where the river, the Red River I told you about, flows between the Grand Canyon and then the barren mountain in the background.
Well, from where we were here, we didn't get very good shots of the Grand Canyon, the Turkish Grand Canyon, but we'll have that on a later show. Anyway, we're going to listen now about the whole history of the Christians in this particular area.
With the birth of Christianity, the people gradually started converting into Christianity, becoming early Christians, the true, faithful followers of this religion. And they stopped going to these temples dedicated to gods and goddesses. They stopped giving votive offerings. And the temples and the oracles in the temples got worried. As you know, there were quite a number of temples dedicated to Roman emperors. And the treasury being collected for the emperors through these temples came down greatly. Everybody got worried. What is happening to these people? And finally, the Roman emperors started issuing decrees to seek for these early Christians to either convert them back into their original pagan world, or else, if they resist, to torture, to kill them. This is the time of torture and massacre. This is not only true of Cappadocia, but other places as well. So the early Christians, especially speaking of Cappadocia, they found out that it was too dangerous to live in such cities because of continuous torture and the fear of getting killed. Look at the village center on your left, all men, women at home. Oh, yes.
Women home working.
Of course. So anyhow, our early friends of Christianity were afraid of living in these cities, and especially some of the saints of that time, like Basilius, Gregorius, a few of them, left Kayseri today's name, or Caesar's Caesarea in ancient times. They came westward to these places. They found quite a number of interesting valleys that are naturally formed as a result of erosion over thousands of years, and they witnessed that it was very easy to live in these valleys, to carve the soft rock, make their dwellings, make their churches, hide into these caves, and be away or run away from the tortures of the Roman soldiers. For your information, ladies and gentlemen, the restrooms for you after your visit are over that side. You see the building over there with the sign of WC, and the heavenly angel, the guard is waiting there to collect the
Heavenly angel.
I send this to Jim. I gotta send that to Jim.
You gonna send that to Jim? George is bargaining with him if he only goes half. He gets half price. You get half price?
Well, I don't know if George paid half price or not. I doubt it. Now, we should explain that when in Turkey, if you want to use the WC, the
And
water
you do.
closet, and you do, it costs you some small change to get in there. And but that's just the way it is. Now, this protects you against the evil eye.
Yeah, we
remember?
bought
Did you?
some of those.
Yeah,
Sure,
and you
sure.
see them all over the place, when you go into buildings or on buses or whatever. Anyway, here we see part of the underground. This is sort of a map of it. Now, we are going to go down into these caves in just a moment, and this to me was really exciting. And as he explained, of course, the early Christians lived in these particular areas when they wanted to get away from the Roman persecution. And you find everything in there. There were chapels in there. There were wineries in there. They used to keep the animals in there. And these go down several floors, as Mohammed is going to explain to us. But and of course, in the summertime, it'd be nice and cool in there. And I suspect that you could heat it up, in the wintertime.
Oh, but it was so dark, and I was thinking to me, I thought how wonderfully brave those people were to live down there,
Well,
never knowing whether someone was going to attack or not.
That's it. The whole thing was, a matter of survival. Let's listen to
Yes.
Mohammed now for his explanation.
This is the easiest part. As you can see, the ceiling is high enough. Later on, after some brief explanation over here, we turn right, go in, and turning right, there's this kind of a slope leading us to the first floor. So even if you find it very difficult to go, you can always say, okay, I give up and come back and out there, where the car park is, the bus is over there, you can get on the bus, or else you can just have a drink over here at the shop if you find it difficult. That's why I'll try as far as the first floor. At least you have an idea. This is just the entrance. And with those of you who would like to take the adventurous side and would like to go down, of course I will continue. If all give up, then I come back out as well. Now, the critical point is actually the first floor, because after the first floor, the kind of tunnel, let's say, or openings like this one, will be getting lower. In fact, if you consider this low, one or two places will be even slightly lower than this one. So this is just to give you an idea. But the first floor is high enough. Of course, anybody can stand up there.
Yeah, but
So
you go down to the 8th floor.
there is no 8th floor here. You cannot go. It's got to be the other one, which is open till all the way down to the 8th floor. Now, these places have become museums now, open-air museums like that, and it's a very recent thing. Like the Valley of Churches of Göreme since 1950s. This one is since 1964. You're talking about 30 plus years of past that the people have begun to sort of come over here and then visit these places. Until recent times, even here nowadays, here and there, because above here is the village, you have some of these carved out holes, sections where they still put the crop, the harvest, to keep their harvests here and there. But most of them are, of course, blocked now. And then lights are installed in so that you can make a visit inside and you can enjoy the idea. This entrance is deliberately made larger so you can enter, and this is used as entrance and exit. Once you go down to the first floor, going down is one way, coming up is another way. Okay? So only the entrance is the same. Keep that in mind. We have the kitchens down there. We have the air shafts for the circulation of air. We have some of those shafts to let the smoke out from the kitchens. It's not one, there are too many of them, of course. Living rooms, one church which I will show to you in the first floor, and of course quite a number of interesting places. Some holes to make wine by pressing in the most traditional way, bringing the grapes and then pressing them by the feet, making the juice and the wine out of it. Of course, you will see some of these, and wine is essential for them for two reasons. Not the religious meaning in it, of course, drinking the blood of Jesus Christ, but also to keep themselves warm. Whether you are in the home or hiding over here, you drink more wine, then you feel warmer. That's the idea. This is more like a stable, because you have the houses up there, but also when you harvest the crop, as I said to you, the temperature remains almost constant throughout the whole year. So you load your crop on kaputka. That means these well-bred horses as well as donkeys. You bring them down over here, and you can see some of the little holes where you used to tie the animals. Look at these holes over here. You just tie your animals, and you put some food over here. So the animals are left here. From here down to the storage area of the foodstuffs, of course, people had to carry. So they are kept in there. Behind you over there is here on the ground. There's a hole as well. This is like a little pond. There was water in it for the animals to drink. The water being coming from above, of course.
So as we can see on the first floor, then a lot of the animals were kept. Well, now we're going to start going down a little bit, and as you can see, there are so many places that are carved here.
I would get lost with all those tunnels, and I get lost anyway. Wouldn't that be a great place for me?
You really could. And you can see now that they put grates over some of these holes in the floor, and a lot of these had various particular meanings. But this just gives you sort of an idea of what is under there. And when they say a city underground, they're not kidding. I mean, these are really cities underground. And the air shafts are there so that they had good ventilation. Somebody asked the question and said, well, what about the invaders? Couldn't they see? Well, they're up on the hillside. They were just like bushes around.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. But I was intrigued with the kitchens. I thought how they had the hearth and the vents going up so that the smoke would go up.
Yeah.
Everything planned.
Excuse me, Betty. This is part of the chapel. There's a cross there carved in, and here's another one right here, as you can just barely make out.
Think of the history.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So rich in history.
Who might have done that?
Again, you can see these various grates here on the floor because they're used for a lot of those were for air vents, of course, as you said, and then other things too.
Thank God for the lights that they put on. Well, you wouldn't really see much if they didn't have the lights.
In the days when they were using this and the people were living there, of course, they had to have torches and probably little oil lamps too. But even with that, you can think how much is there, how many tunnels. How did they keep all of that lit? They probably didn't.
They probably didn't. And each family had to have their own living quarters,
right.
And there were a lot of children there. These weren't just adults.
That's right.
So each one had their own living quarters. We saw the hammocks and interesting.
It really is. And here's the winery that we see right here.
Go back to it.
When can you stand up?
Yeah.
Never.
Better not take it away.
Yeah, this is the winery.
I'm ready for a drink.
On the right-hand side is deeply carved, so that means if you're in the first floor, and then you're identified, the strangers, the enemies coming in, then immediately you take this tunnel down to the second, third floor, and each time you move down, you start rolling these stones into position and blocking the passageway to stop the enemy or to stop the strangers from going down further. Keep in mind, it's well illuminated now. During those days, of course, no illumination or anything like that. Just these tiny holes you see here and there, like up over here, like that, lamps and oil lamps, so that for that reason you see that it is partly black. And a lot of little holes here and there around the hole. This is just to put the jars, because the ground is uneven. The pottery is very famous from about 5,000 years ago. They still continue making this pottery, so all the pots that are fired are put on the floor like that. These are the jars containing oil, for instance, water, wine, etc. So it usually goes sort of around the room, you know.
Well, you know, when we get to some of these places, you can stand up in these rooms, but some of those tunnels going from room to room,
I was bent over for a little while.
yeah.
But you get an idea right there.
Oh, yeah, you know, I tell you.
But it isn't for everyone. But the nice thing, if you don't want to do this, just like our guide said, you can go and
That's
do your
right.
shopping, and we meet you as we come up.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's what was so nice about it. Of course, I wanted to go down to the very bottom if we could, but this was getting just about far enough,
Well,
I
you're
think.
tall. You know, I would think your back would hurt.
That's it.
I can stand up.
Isn't that nice? Yeah. You could play hide and seek all day and never find your husband.
This is not quite 2.5, this is the third floor, to give you an idea to start with. One nice thing to explain to you is this one. This is a very finely carved hole here. Look.
Yes.
To take in a jar. And you know what is this? Toilet. There's no sewer or anything like that. So you have these jars, because this is not the place that people lived. This is the place they were hiding at times of necessity. So you have the jars like that. You just pee over here. When the jar is full, you take it up and throw it away. Because jar is no problem, pottery is no problem. They have this from the Red River. They just collect the earth over there, and they give the interesting shapes and make, you know, fire the jars and all pots and all that. They use them in everyday life. So this is one good example. From here, going down to the fourth floor, -4, in other words, halfway down, there's an air shaft. Air, for the circulation of air. There's an air shaft or air chimney for the ventilation, or ventilation shaft, whichever way you want to call it. It is much deeper than the actual depth of the underground city.
Yeah.
To allow for the circulation of air at each and every level, because between levels there are holes, so the air keeps coming in and circulating. That's why even you go further down and down, no problem with breathing. And the other part, this deeper part, was the part that was used to collect water. So there was some water over there, and then they would just drop the bucket and, you know, pull the rope up, and then they could use this water for their daily needs. And to the right and to the left of the air shaft, you will see some holes to put the feet in case something dropped or you wanted to keep the water clean, etc. People could go all the way down. The original depth in some of these air shafts, in some of the underground cities, is like 240, 50 feet, about 80 meters long.
How would they camouflage the air shaft outlet at surface?
The outlets are still up there, but it's covered now. Even this one, this is strong enough so you can see, in order to nobody, you know, sort of falls down. There's a lid at the top now, but it is just an opening in the ground.
Yeah.
It's just like a hole, just like a hole. So many of them to let the smoke out from the kitchen, and also to allow for the circulation of air.
Which level are we on, 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue there next week anyway. Listen, if you are interested in any of the trips that Betty has coming up, please give her a call at
488-7443.
And we've got lots of trips coming up. Betty's got her newsletter out. Hey, that's it for this time. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.